This upcoming lesson is going to explore the differences between the 2 equal signs and the 3 equal signs. JavaScript does an automatic type conversion. So in some cases, you might find that when you are doing a check to see if the values are equal, they will be coming back equal, even though the data types are very different. So in the first example, we're going to be looking at an array that has a value of 10, a number that has a value of 10, and a string that has a value of 10, and checking to see if they are equal to each other, and also if they are not equal to each other. And then when we consider the data type, what the difference in the results is. Next, we're going to be looking at 7 different values that are going to be either 0 or false, and we're going to be comparing those to see if they output and if they are equal to each other. Having a comparison of the different values, once again, using the 2 equal signs and seeing how JavaScript handles the type conversion on those. And then lastly, we're also going to be looking at if we check to see if they are considered a false value, if they're equal to falsy, and if we can get an output on that if they are falsy. Let's open up the editor and start writing some code. I've got the index file on the left-hand side opened in the browser on the right-hand side, also using a Chrome browser where we've got developer tools opened on the bottom right-hand side connecting to app.js. So what we want to do is look at the different comparisons operators when we're using either the 2 or the 3 equal signs. So let's create some values. So setting up a value of A, and we're going to create an array out of this value. And we'll set a value of B to be 10. And we'll set a value of C to be a string value of 10. Let's go ahead and we'll compare some of the values. So do you think that A is going to be equal to B, just with the 2 equal signs? And we can console log out the result. I'm going to use the backticks, and we'll check just to see that A is equal to B, and output that result in the console if they are equal. So when we are using the 2 equal signs, even though that A is an array, it's going to be equal to the number value of 10 when we use the 2 equal signs. And this is also going to be the same for C. So even though C is a string value, it's going to be doing a type conversion where the values are going to be converted both into strings, and when we're outputting A and C, we see in the result here that A and C are both being considered as string values, so that's why they're being equal. If I just output A itself, it's an array. If I output B, it's going to be a number. If I output C, it's going to be a string value, and that's how it's going to be represented within the console. Let's try these with the 3 equal signs. So this is also going to be considering the data type to make sure that the data type is the same as well. So when we refresh, with the 3rd equal sign, we're considering the data type as well. And we know that these data types are not the same. So that's why the 3rd equal sign is not being displayed. You can also use the not as well. And let's try those ones where we're going to run the check to see if A is not equal to B and not equal to C. And we'll just update these as well in the console output. And then I'll do the one for the 3 where we're also checking the data type. And we see that this result as well, when we're outputting into the console log, it's outputting it as a string value because we've got a string with the different data types. And these are not equal, whereas these are considered equal, just as we saw within the output earlier. Let's try a few other ones, where if we have the false value, and if we have an empty array, see if that is a value that's going to be equal to 0. And also let's set some booleans, where we'll check to see if the value of false, and we'll also set up a blank string value to see what the result for that value is going to be. So we'll try these 4 other data types. I can move down and we can do checks for these to see if they are the same. So let's add those values in. We're check to see if the value of D is equal to E, and I'll update those D and E, and the value of E is equal to F, and I'll update the output in the console. And then just try these ones as well, where we'll check to see if F is equal to G, and if G is equal to D. So what do you think the results are going to be for these data types and JavaScript converting the different data types to see if we've got a match on those? I'll also do a console clear so that we can focus on the current results that are being output. So we did a console clear, and we see that D is equal to E, E is equal to F, F is equal to G, and G is equal to D. So these are all equivalent because JavaScript is doing its data type conversion. Let's try another one where we've got H, and if we set H to null, and we'll try I, set that to undefined, and we'll use J as well, and set that to none, to not a number. So these are all going to be considered falsy, and we'll see if they're all going to be still equivalent. So let's add in the other ones where we're checking to see if G is equal to H, and I'll update these values, and then we check to see if H is equal to I, and update those values. And then we'll see if I is equal to J, and then we'll add one more. So I is equal to J. So again, all these falsy values, we're going to be checking to see if they are equivalent and if JavaScript is doing the type conversion. So when we refresh, we see that null is equal to undefined. We don't see this one. So G is not equal to H, because there is a value, so it's not equal to null. Null is equal to undefined. Undefined is not equal to not a number. Not a number is not equal to just being blank. And I'll just note which values we're using, so it's a little bit easier to see the result in the values in the console. So we can see which ones got missed. So we did get D, E, and F, but we're missing G. We're missing I and J. So those are not equal. So let's try it on the 3 equal signs, and we'll see which ones of these are going to turn out to be equal when they have the data type. And we actually should see none of them because none of them are equal when we're considering the different data types. So let's try a few other ones that were missed here. So we've got H. So we'll see if, so we'll do a few other checks on G as we're not able to get it to show up. So is G, which is the blank string, is that going to be equal to an empty array? We'll check that out. Where D, so I just write G and D, and we'll save that. So the G is actually equal to the blank array. So that is being output there. So an empty string is equal to an empty array. Let's check some of the false values. We know that these are all false values. So let's check to see if H, I, and J are false. So this is going to be F and H, F and I, and F and J. And we'll see if these ones, JavaScript is able to do the type conversion, check to see if they are equal. Even though these are all false values, they're not going to turn out to be false as Boolean false, as we're able to compare the value of the Booleans here, and we're not getting any additional results. Let's check to see within the condition to see if the value of 8 will output the result. H is in fact false. We'll check to see if I is false, and these should all come back as false because they are falsy, and we'll also check J as well. So they all come back as false. Let's add in the other values into this list, and we'll check those to see if they are false as well. We'll do another console clear. So we're looking to see if the value of D to J, if they're going to come back as false. So start out with D, and we'll output the value. And then there's E. So see, they all do come back as false. So we've got E, F, G, H, I, J. The only one that's not coming back as false is going to be the empty array, as this one is not a falsy, even though it is empty. So these have been some examples of the different ways that JavaScript handles the automatic type conversion when you are using the 2 equal signs as opposed to the 3 equal signs. So if you want to make sure that the values that you are using are going to be equal in every way, including the data type, then make sure that you use the 3 equal signs, or that you use the 2 equal signs and the exclamation mark operator in order to check to see if they are not equal. And that way you can be assured that the values in fact are going to be equivalent. If you are looking for false values, then you can consider what we've done here, where we're listing out all of the values that are going to be considered false, and noting that the only one that isn't false from this list is going to be the one that is going to be the array. So the empty array itself is not false, but the rest of the 6 are going to be considered falsy, and they are going to be outputting as false within the condition when you do have the condition.